The velvet box arrived at his office on Christmas Eve, wrapped in gold paper with a card that simply read, "For when you're ready to stop pretending you don't want me. Consider this my notice. I quit." Sasha. Taejun didn't open unsolicited packages, especially not from employees who should know better than to send anything personal to a man whose name alone made Seoul's elite nervous. But when he read that note, something primal and possessive exploded in his chest. She was leaving. Welcome to Black Soul Folktales, my story lovers. Please like, share, and subscribe. My dream is to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of this year. I believe together we can achieve. Thank you. Sasha had been his compliance officer for exactly 1 year and 3 days. Taejun absolutely was counting. From the second she'd strutted into his building with her credentials and her disarming confidence, wearing that burgundy dress that hugged every curve, speaking perfect Korean with a smooth American accent that made something in him shift, he'd been obsessed. She managed his legal operations, ensured his legitimate businesses stayed clean, sat 2 floors below him while he controlled half of Seoul's underground from the penthouse. She had no clue who he really was. To her, he was just the ice-cold chairman of a pharmaceutical empire. To the rest of Seoul's underworld, he was the phantom who made problems disappear. And now she is quitting. The note mentioned nothing about her reasons, but he understood. Last week's holiday gala. The board member who'd cornered her by the dessert table, hand sliding too low on her back, words too close to her ear. Taejun had watched from across the ballroom, his composure shattering, his control slipping. He'd had the man removed that same night, permanently relocated with a clear understanding of consequences. But Sasha had caught something in Taejun's expression, a recognition, a darkness, an acknowledgement that her boss was far more than he seemed. He pressed his intercom. His right hand answered on the first ring. "Locate her immediately." "Sir, it's Christmas Eve, she's likely. I don't care if it's the apocalypse." "Find Sasha. Bring her to me without a scratch on her. Anyone who even looks at her wrong loses their eyes." The call disconnected. Taejun stood at his floor-to-ceiling window, watching snow blanket Seoul like confessions, and tried to recall the last time he'd felt genuine fear. Nothing surfaced, because nothing had ever mattered this much. 90 minutes later, his phone vibrated. "We have her location, sir. Incheon Airport. Lagos flight departs in 35 minutes. Taejun was in his Mercedes before the sentence finished. His driver knew not to question, just floored it until Seoul became streaks of neon and velocity. They reached the airport in 19 minutes. He walked through security like he owned the entire facility, which financially, he practically did. His network had eyes in every corner. Finding one stunning black woman with box braids and eyes that haunted his dreams was effortless. He found her at gate 22, sitting with her luggage, wearing joggers and a hoodie that somehow made her more devastating than any evening gown. She was crying quietly, the kind of tears people shed when they're trying to remain invisible. Something in his chest fractured. He approached carefully, each step controlled, attempting to appear less predatory and more approachable. He failed miserably. She glanced up, saw him, her eyes widened. "Mr. Choi." "Sasha." He sat beside her without invitation. "You're leaving." "I submitted proper resignation. For week's notice is in your inbox. I'm rejecting it." She released a broken laugh. "You don't have that authority." "I have every authority." His voice was velvet over steel. "That's the issue, isn't it? You finally realized what I am. Who I am. And now you're fleeing." Her fingers twisted together. "I'm going home for the holidays. That's it." "Liar." He leaned closer, close enough to catch her scent, something warm and vanilla that made him want to burn cities down. "You're running because you're terrified of me, of what you witnessed at that gala. You saw me have that man removed. 1 second he existed, the next he vanished. And the way I looked at you afterward, like I possessed you or something. You do possess me. The confession escaped before he could contain it. Raw, honest, unforgivable. I have since you walked into my boardroom and smiled at me like I was worth smiling at. She stood abruptly. He rose with her, blocking her path without touching, his body a barrier between her and escape. Other travelers stared. He couldn't care less. Let them witness a man coming undone. This is crazy, she whispered. You're my boss. You're whatever you are. And I'm nobody. Say that again. His voice dropped to something lethal. Tell me you're nobody. See what I do. Her breath caught. Taejun. First time she'd ever said his name. It sounded like salvation and damnation and everything between. He stepped into her space, crowding her, giving her nowhere to retreat but against him. That board member touched you, put his hands on what's mine. I eliminated the problem. I will always eliminate the problem. That's what men like me do. Men like you. She stared up at him, tears streaming. I don't even understand what that means. It means I'm dangerous. It means people fear me for legitimate reasons. It means I've done things that would horrify you. He reached up, wiped her tears with his thumb, the gesture achingly tender compared to his words. It also means that for 1 year I've watched you, wanted you, stayed away because you're too good, too bright, too everything I don't deserve. And I've failed. I can't let you leave, Sasha. I won't. You can't kidnap me from an airport. Watch me. He pulled out his phone, made a call. Cancel her flight. All Lagos flights tonight. I don't care what it takes. Do it. She stared, horrified and fascinated. You're legitimately insane. For you? Completely. He pocketed his phone, took her carry-on with one hand, her wrist with the other, gentle but unmovable. We're leaving. You can walk or I can carry you. Decide quickly before I choose for you. The next moment was critical. He watched her weighing options, calculating exits, probably reviewing everything she knew about him, which was nothing compared to reality. Then her shoulders dropped, surrender, or perhaps curiosity. If I come with you, you'll explain everything? Everything you can tolerate hearing. And if I can't tolerate it? His smile was razor sharp. Then I'll make you tolerate it. They walked out together, his hand never releasing her wrist, her body tense beside his. His driver opened the Mercedes door. Sasha hesitated. He waited, patient, offering the illusion of choice when they both knew she was already his. She got in. He followed. The door sealed them in leather and shadows and tension so dense it was suffocating. Take us to the estate, he told the driver. Not the penthouse. The estate. His private sanctuary outside Seoul that nobody knew existed, where he could reveal who he was without surveillance, without witnesses, without anything between them but truth. Sasha watched out the window as Seoul vanished behind them, replaced by mountains and snowfall. I researched you after the gala. After I saw whatever I saw in your eyes. The reports call you the Phantom. Say you control half of Seoul's underground economy. That people who oppose you disappear. The reports are accurate. She turned to him. And you're confirming this? Why? If you're so dangerous, so secretive, why admit anything? Because you're leaving or attempting to. And I've realized something tonight. He shifted closer until his thigh pressed against hers, until she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. I'd rather you know the monster and stay than believe the lie and leave. I'm exhausted from pretending around you. Pretending what? That I'm civilized. That I'm safe. That I don't think about you every single moment until it's like insanity. His hand came up, fingers gently touching her braids, and she didn't pull away. That I didn't have that board member dealt with for touching you. Her breath hitched. Dealt with. He's not dead. Just permanently relocated with crystal clear instructions about what happens if he ever approaches you again. His smile was winter itself. I'm attempting to be better for you. This is as good as it gets. They arrived at the estate an hour later. Traditional Korean architecture hidden in mountains, surrounded by gates and security and enough protection for royalty. He led her inside, watching her absorb the space. Minimalist, elegant, empty except for essentials. "This is where you live?" She turned slowly, taking everything in. "When I need to disappear, to think, to be something other than what soul demands." He moved to the bar, poured whiskey for himself, wine for her without asking preferences. He already knew. "I purchased it 4 years ago. You're the first person I've ever brought here." She accepted the wine, hands wrapped around the glass like it could shield her. "Why me?" "Because you make me want things I thought I'd buried. Normal things. Coming home to someone. Having conversations that aren't about money or power or elimination. Hearing my name said with warmth instead of terror." He took a long drink, let the burn settle his nerves. "You make me want to be human again. I resent you for it." "You don't resent me." "No, I don't. That's the problem." The silence stretched between them, heavy with everything unspoken. Finally, she set down her wine. "The gift in your office. That wasn't my resignation. That was something else." His blood went cold, then scorching. "What was it?" Her cheeks flushed, dark skin glowing in the low light. "It was stupid. Inappropriate. I thought after the gala, the way you looked at me, I thought maybe you felt, but then I realized how insane that was, and I panicked, and now I'm rambling, and you're staring at me like..." "Sasha." He set down his glass, moved toward her with predatory focus. "What was in the box?" She backed up until she hit the wall. He caged her there with his arms on either side of her head, giving her nowhere to escape. It was lingerie, black lace, and a note that said, "Merry Christmas. If you want to unwrap your gift, you know where to find me." The world stopped. His brain short-circuited. Every carefully maintained wall of control crumbled into nothing. "You sent me lingerie? I was going to retrieve it. That's why I was leaving." I realized how inappropriate it was, how you probably thought I was, I don't know, some kind of, and I couldn't face you, so I ran. And now you're here and I'm mortified, and please stop looking at me like that. "Like what?" "Like I want to devour you." His smile was pure danger. "That's precisely what I want to do." Her breath came faster. "Taejun. Say it again. Say my name like that again. This is insane. You're my boss. You're a criminal. I should be terrified. Are you?" He leaned in closer, lips brushing her ear. "Terrified. No. That's what scares me most." He pulled back enough to meet her eyes, dark, desperate, wanting. "I'm going to kiss you now. If you don't want that, tell me to stop." She didn't tell him to stop. His mouth covered hers with 1 year of restraint finally breaking free. She tasted like wine and something sweet he couldn't identify. Her hands came up to his chest, fisting in his shirt, and he groaned against her mouth, deepening the kiss until she was clinging to him like he was gravity itself. When he finally pulled away, they were both gasping. "I've wanted to do that since the day you walked into my office," he said roughly. "Every board meeting, every report you delivered, every time you smiled at me like I was worth smiling at. I wanted to throw you over my desk and make you mine. Then why didn't you?" "Because you deserved better than a monster." She pulled him back down, kissed him again, harder this time. "What if I don't want better? What if I want you?" Something inside him shattered or healed, he wasn't sure which. He lifted her up, carried her through the estate to his bedroom, laid her on his bed like she was sacred. She looked up at him with trust he didn't deserve and desire that ignited him. "If we do this," he said, voice strained, "there's no going back. You'll be mine completely. I won't let you leave. I won't let anyone harm you. I won't let you go. Then don't." He kissed her until the world outside ceased to matter. Until all that existed was her skin under his hands, her sighs against his mouth, the way she said his name like prayer. What happened next was too sacred, too intimate for words. Just two people finally surrendering to something that had been inevitable from the beginning. Later, much later, she lay curled against his chest, his arms locked around her like chains made of devotion. "This doesn't make sense," she whispered. "You and me. It's too fast, too intense. Nothing about us makes sense. I'm a criminal. You're a compliance officer. I'm Korean. You're American. I live in shadows. You're all light. None of it matters. Why not? Because you're mine. Have been since the moment you smiled at me. And I protect what's mine." She was quiet for a long moment. "Then what happens now? Now you stop trying to leave. You accept that I'm not letting you go. You let me protect you, worship you, give you everything you've ever wanted." He pressed his lips to her hair. "And eventually, you marry me. Eventually. I'm giving you 6 months. Then I'm putting a ring on your finger whether you're ready or not." She should have argued, should have said it was too much, too fast, too everything. Instead, she laughed, soft surrender. "You're legitimately insane." "For you?" "Unquestionably." The next morning arrived with snow and coffee. Taejun woke before sunrise, watching Sasha sleep in his bed, wearing his shirt, looking like every dream he'd ever denied himself. His phone buzzed. Work, always work. He answered it in the other room, voice cold, efficient. But when he returned, she was awake, watching him with sleepy eyes. "Business?" she asked. "Always. The illegal kind or the profitable kind?" "Both. Does it matter?" She considered this. "Will you tell me about it? Really tell me." He sat on the edge of the bed, traced patterns on her arm. "If you want to know, I'll tell you. All of it. The money operations, the protection networks, the investments that aren't quite legal. Everything." "Why would you do that? Tell me everything? Won't that make me a liability?" His smile was sharp. "You think I care about liability when it comes to you? I'd burn my entire operation to the ground before I'd let anything happen to you. You want to know what I do? Fine. But once you know, you're in completely. No backing out. And if I can't handle it, then I'll help you handle it. But you're not leaving me, Sasha. Not now. Not ever." The following week was surreal. Christmas passed in a blur of snow and confessions. Taejun explained his organization with clinical precision, the legitimate businesses that fronted illegal ones, the network of people who owed him favors, the enemies who wanted him eliminated, the wealth that came from controlling what others feared. Sasha listened without judgment, asking questions that proved she understood power dynamics and leverage better than most of his executives. "You could legitimize everything," she said one evening, reviewing his operations with the same focus she'd brought to compliance reports. "Restructure these holdings, move the money through these channels. In 7 years, you could be completely clean." "I don't want to be clean. I want to be feared." "Why?" "Because fear keeps you alive. Love gets you killed." She looked up from the documents. "Is that what happened to your family? Someone loved them and they died." His jaw locked. "Don't. Taejun. My parents were soft. Trusting. They thought being honorable was enough. It wasn't. I was 19 when rivals came for us. I survived. They didn't. I learned that day that mercy is weakness. That the only way to protect what matters is to be more dangerous than everyone else. So that's what I became." She set down the documents, moved to him, wrapped her arms around him despite his tension. "I'm sorry for what happened to them, for what it forced you to become. Don't be sorry for what I am. I'm not. I know. But I can still hurt for the boy who lost everything." Something inside him softened, just slightly, just enough. "You're dangerous too, in a completely different way." "How so?" "You make me want things I swore I'd never want again. Family, home, someone to protect who isn't part of the organization." "You make me weak." "No, I make you human. There's a difference." By the end of January, Sasha had moved into the mountain estate permanently. She kept her position officially but worked remotely, which meant working from his bed most days while he conducted business 3 rooms away. His people noticed the change, the way their boss smiled now, how his orders came with less venom, how he'd destroy anyone who so much as looked at Sasha wrong. "You've gone soft, boss," his lieutenant said during a meeting, not an accusation, an observation. "I've gone focused. There's a difference. Before, I had nothing to lose. Now I have everything. Which means I'm exponentially more dangerous to anyone who threatens what's mine. And what's yours? Everything. Starting with her." That evening, he came home to find Sasha cooking, actually cooking in his kitchen, making something that smelled like home and spices and everything he'd been missing. He stood in the doorway watching her move and felt something terrifying settle in his chest. Permanence. "I didn't know you cooked," he said. She jumped, turned, smiled. "Soul food. My grandmother's recipes. Thought you might want to try something different than whiskey and takeout." He moved behind her, arms wrapping around her waist, chin on her shoulder. "You're trying to domesticate me. Is it working?" "Terrifyingly well." They ate together, him asking questions about every dish, her explaining with enthusiasm that made him smile. This was what normal people did, shared meals, talked about their days, didn't discuss elimination or money operations, just existed together. "I could get used to this," he said. "Good, because I'm not going anywhere." Famous last words. 3 days later, everything collapsed. Taejun was in Seoul for a meeting with associates from Busan. Routine business. Except it wasn't routine. It was an ambush. A rival organization making a play for his territory. Guns appeared, his security responded. By the time the smoke cleared, 7 men were dead, none of them his. And Taejun had a bounty on his head that would make most people flee the country. He didn't flee. He called Sasha. "Pack a bag. We're moving." "What?" "Why?" "Because someone just declared war and I won't risk you being collateral damage." She was in his armored vehicle within the hour, surrounded by armed guards, being driven to a location even she didn't know. Taejun sat beside her, jaw tight, phone pressed to his ear, issuing orders in rapid Korean that made her blood run cold. This was the man the world feared. Cold, calculating, lethal. "How bad is it?" she asked when he finally disconnected. "Bad enough that I'm moving you to Tokyo until this is resolved." "Tokyo?" "Absolutely not. I'm not leaving you." He turned to face her, eyes flat. "This isn't negotiable. Neither is me abandoning you when someone wants you eliminated." "Sasha." His voice cracked slightly. "They'll use you to get to me. They'll hurt you to hurt me. I can't, I won't let that happen." "Then don't send me away. Protect me, but don't send me away." The argument continued for 5 days while they hid in a safe house in Gangnam. Taejun's organization worked around the clock to identify the threat, eliminate it, send messages written in blood about what happened to people who came for the Phantom. Meanwhile, Sasha watched the man she loved transform into something darker. He barely slept, barely ate, just planned and strategized and prepared for war. "You need to rest," she said on the 6th night, finding him in his office at 4 a.m. "I need to keep you alive." "I am alive. I'm right here, safe. For now." But these people, they're not like the others. They're organized, well-funded, connected. If they get their hands on you, they'll do things that will make me beg them to kill me instead. She moved behind his chair, hands on his shoulders, kneading the tension there. "Then make sure they don't get me. But don't push me away thinking it'll keep me safer. That's not how this works." He pulled her around into his lap, buried his face against her neck. "I don't know how to do this. Care about someone this much. It's like being flayed alive. Welcome to love. It's terrifying. I hate it." "No, you don't." "No, I don't." He lifted his head, eyes burning. "I love you." Which is worse. Because love means vulnerability. And vulnerability gets people killed. or it makes you fight harder. Love isn't weakness, Taejun. It's why you'll win. He kissed her then, desperate and claiming, like he could absorb her into his skin if he tried hard enough. What followed was hours of them together, reconnecting, reminding each other why they were fighting. By dawn, he was calmer, focused, ready. The resolution came 3 weeks later. Taejun's people found the organization's headquarters, their financial backers, their entire structure. What happened next was surgical, efficient, brutal. By the time it was over, the threat was eliminated, the message sent, and Seoul's underworld knew with absolute certainty that the Phantom's woman was untouchable. It's done, he told her, coming home covered in someone else's blood, exhaustion carved into every line of his face. Done meaning, the people who threatened you don't exist anymore. Meaning I can breathe again. She should have been horrified, should have run from the violence, the casual way he discussed ending lives. Instead, she pulled him into the shower, washed the blood away, held him while he finally let himself break, just slightly, just enough. I thought I'd lose you, he whispered against her hair. You won't. Ever. I'm here. Promise me. I promise. The next morning brought peace, fragile, temporary, but peace nonetheless. Taejun woke with Sasha in his arms, sunlight streaming through windows, and made a decision. He called his lieutenant. I'm out. Sir, the organization. I'm stepping back. You're taking over. Silence. Then, because of her? Because of her. Because I want to wake up like this every morning without wondering if today's the day someone uses her to destroy me. Because she makes me want normal. And I'm choosing that. The others won't let you just walk away. Watch me. I'm keeping my investments, my legitimate businesses, everything clean. The rest is yours. Anyone who has a problem with that can address it with me personally. No one addressed it with him. The Phantom had earned his retirement. By the end of March, Taejun had restructured his entire life, legitimate business dealings, consulting for organizations that needed his particular expertise, investments that would keep him wealthy without keeping him criminal. And through it all, Sasha, building a life together, making plans. I want to show you something, he said one evening in April, 6 months exactly since that Christmas Eve. He drove them to a property overlooking the Han River. Traditional Korean house with modern updates, huge kitchen, office space, bedrooms for a family they hadn't discussed yet but both wanted. What is this? Sasha asked, walking through the space. Ours, if you want it. I purchased it last month. Thought maybe we could, if you're ready, make it official. She turned to face him. Official how? He pulled out a box, small, velvet, expensive. I told you 6 months. I'm a man of my word. He opened it, revealing a diamond and sapphire ring. Marry me, Sasha. Make me human. Make me yours. Let me spend the rest of my life proving I'm worth the risk you took. She was crying, laughing, nodding. Yes. Obviously yes. You insane, romantic, reformed criminal. Yes. He slid the ring on her finger. I love you more than power, more than fear. More than anything. I love you too. Even though you're absolutely crazy. Especially because I'm crazy for you. They were married 8 weeks later, small ceremony, his people, her family flown in from Chicago, everyone watching in disbelief as the Phantom pledged his life to a woman who tamed him with nothing but love and refusal to let him push her away. The reception was beautiful, traditional Korean and American Southern elements blended together, 2 cultures, 2 lives, 1 future. Did you ever think this would happen? She asked during their first dance. Never. I thought I'd die alone, probably violently. Then you sent me lingerie for Christmas and broke every rule I'd ever made. Best Christmas gift ever? Only one that mattered. 8 months after the wedding, Sasha missed her cycle, then another. The test was positive. She stared at it in disbelief, joy, terror. When Taejun came home that evening, she was sitting on their bed, test in hand, tears streaming down her face. "What's wrong?" He was beside her instantly. "Are you hurt? Did something happen?" She handed him the test, watched his face transform. Shock, joy, fear, wonder. "We're having a baby." You're pregnant?" "For months. I think. The doctor can confirm, but yes. We're going to be parents." He pulled her into his arms, held her so tight she could barely breathe. "I don't know how to be a father. My own was, he wasn't. I don't know if I can." "You can. You will. Because you love me and you'll love them. That's all that matters. What if I mess them up? What if I'm too broken? Then we'll be broken together." "But Taejun, you're not broken. You're healing. And this baby, they'll get to see the man you've become, not the phantom, just their dad." He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. "I'm terrified." "Good. Me too. We'll figure it out together." The pregnancy was smooth. Sasha glowed. Taejun hovered. His people joked that their former boss had become completely domesticated, attending birthing classes, reading parenting books, installing car seats with the same focus he'd once brought to hostile takeovers. By the time their daughter was born in early spring, Taejun had transformed completely, from phantom to father, from feared to loving, from isolated to utterly devoted. "She's perfect," he whispered, holding their daughter for the first time, this tiny human who'd already stolen his entire heart. "She is, just like her dad. I'm not perfect. You are to us." They named her Hannah Joy because that's what she represented, joy neither of them deserved, but both had received. And as Taejun watched his wife and daughter sleep, he understood finally what mattered. Not power, not fear, not control, just this: family, love, home. A year later, they were hosting Christmas Eve dinner, his organization reformed and legitimate, celebrating together. His lieutenant was there with his new wife, others who'd left the criminal life behind, and Sasha's family visiting from Chicago, marveling at how their daughter had ended up married to a reformed Korean gangster with a baby and a house and a life that looked shockingly normal. "How did this happen?" Sasha's sister asked, watching Taejun play with Hannah. "I sent him lingerie for Christmas," Sasha said, smiling at the memory. "You what?" "Long story, but basically I made a completely inappropriate gesture, panicked, tried to flee the country, and he chased me down at the airport and told me I was his." That's not romantic, that's kidnapping." "Probably. But it worked. Look at us now." Her sister shook her head. "You always were the dramatic one." Taejun looked up then, met Sasha's eyes across the room, smiled. That smile she'd seen that first Christmas Eve, the one that said, "Mine, always, forever." She smiled back. Because they'd started with danger and desperation and a gift she'd been too embarrassed to deliver. And somehow, impossibly, they'd ended up here, happy, safe, together. "Best Christmas gift ever," she mouthed to him. He nodded. Only one that mattered. That evening, after everyone left, after Hannah was asleep, they sat together on their couch, watching snow fall outside. "Do you ever miss it?" Sasha asked. "The power, the fear, being the phantom?" "Never. I'd choose this every time, you, Hannah, this life. It's worth more than any empire. Even though I'm completely crazy for sending you lingerie, especially because of that. You saw a man everyone feared and decided to seduce him. That takes courage. Or insanity? Probably both. Definitely both." He pulled her closer, kissed her temple. "Thank you." "For what?" "For being brave enough to love me. For not running when you should have. For giving me this." He gestured at the house, the life, everything. "I don't deserve it, but I'm keeping it anyway." "Good, because I'm not going anywhere." "Promise?" "Forever." "Promise." They sat in comfortable silence, two people who shouldn't have worked but somehow did. She'd given him more than a gift that Christmas. She'd given him redemption, hope, a reason to be better than he was. And he'd given her protection, devotion, love so fierce it rewrote everything she thought she knew about relationships. Next Christmas, he said suddenly, "What are you getting me?" "Haven't decided yet." "What do you get the man who is everything?" "You could always get me another baby." She laughed. "That's not how gifts work, isn't it? I give you 9 months of growing a human. You give me another child to completely wreck me emotionally. Seems fair." "You're insane." "For you, always." 8 months later, Sasha was pregnant again. Taejun cried when she told him, actual tears, this man who'd once been Seoul's most feared operator, reduced to joy by a positive test. Their son was born the following spring, named Juno, meaning talented and handsome, because that's what they were, talented at love, at family, at building something beautiful from the wreckage of who they'd been. 2 kids, Taejun said one evening, watching his children sleep. "I'm officially domesticated." "You love it." "I do, terrifyingly so." "Who knew the phantom could be defeated by diapers and baby laughter?" "I did, from the moment you chased me through that airport." He pulled her close. "Best decision I ever made." "Chasing me or keeping me?" "Both." "All of it." "Every moment since that Christmas Eve when you tried to run, and I refused to let you go." Years passed. Hannah started school. Juno learned to walk. Taejun's legitimate businesses thrived. Sasha's event planning company, started 3 years after Hannah was born, became one of Seoul's most sought after. They built an empire together, legal, successful, theirs. And every Christmas Eve, they celebrated the anniversary of the night that changed everything, the night a woman was brave enough to send an inappropriate gift, the night a man was desperate enough to chase her. The night love conquered fear and danger and everything that should have kept them apart. "Do you ever regret it?" Taejun asked during their 12th Christmas together, watching their children play. "Regret what?" "Sending you lingerie? Getting chased through an airport? Marrying a reformed criminal? Any of it?" "All of it." She looked at him, this man who'd been terrifying and became tender, who'd been dangerous and became devoted, who'd loved her so completely that he'd rebuilt his entire life to keep her safe. "Not even a little bit." "You? Never. You're the only good decision I ever made." "Just one. The only one that mattered." They kissed then, surrounded by family and laughter and the life they'd built. And Sasha thought about that girl she'd been, scared, running, trying to escape feelings too big to name. She thought about the gift she'd almost taken back, the flight she'd almost boarded, the life she'd almost lived without him. And she was grateful for courage she didn't know she had, for a man who'd refused to let her go, for Christmas Eve 12 years ago when everything changed. "I love you," she whispered against his mouth. "I love you more, impossible as that seems." "Not impossible, just us." "Just us," he agreed. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. The end came not with danger or drama, but with peace, with children growing, with businesses thriving, with love that had started dangerous and desperate and ended safe and sure. They'd beaten the odds, survived the fear, built something that shouldn't have worked but somehow, impossibly, perfectly did. And every Christmas, they told their children the story, how Mom sent Dad an inappropriate gift, how Dad chased Mom through an airport, how love conquered everything. The kids would laugh, mortified and delighted, and Taejun and Sasha would exchange glances, remembering, grateful. Because sometimes the best love stories start with the worst decisions. Sometimes running toward danger is safer than running away. Sometimes the most inappropriate gift is exactly what someone needs. And sometimes, just sometimes, loving a monster makes him human again. That was their story, written in risk and reward, in fear and courage, in a woman brave enough to love darkness and a man desperate enough to choose light. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs, and that made it everything. Merry Christmas, she'd written in that first note. If you want to unwrap your gift, you know where to find me. He'd found her, kept her, loved her until the phantom disappeared and only the man remained. And she'd loved him back, fiercely, completely, without reservation or fear. Two people, two cultures, one impossible love, and a Christmas Eve that changed everything. The end. What did you think, my story lovers? A woman sent Christmas lingerie to her boss and ended up married with babies and a reformed criminal husband. That's the kind of chaos we love to see. If this story gave you all the feels, smash that like button, drop a comment telling me your favorite moment, and subscribe so you never miss another Afro-Korean love story. Because we're just getting started with these impossible romances that somehow always end in happily ever after. See you in the next one. And remember, sometimes the most dangerous gift is your heart, and the bravest thing you can do is give it to someone who will protect it forever.